my previous video, I outlined a long pattern of behavior from Bucket in which many viewers believe was already bad enough. Unfortunately, since that video was uploaded, more evidence has surfaced and it paints an even clearer picture of how Bucket has acted towards people in his community, especially regarding his poor response to the drama. First of all, I would like to brush over important things from the last video that people may not have seen, as the evidence in there is very important to this video or is necessary for the community to see. As stated in the last video, Bucket had effectively destroyed another Undertale Dungeons game called Undertale Dungeons Alive. He did this by setting the game's age rating to 17 plus, which cannot be reverted on Roblox. This made the game unplayable for most users, preventing the owner from earning revenue despite Bucket selling the game to King Hot Dogs. This is clear abuse of authorized access, seemingly done out of spite because he disliked the game. Bucket had also recently tried to defend himself, saying that if you spam report a game, it will be temporarily, big emphasis on temporarily, change the game's age rating. However, it has been over a year since this happened, and this temporary change seems to be permanent, so he's clearly just lying about this. He also would say that someone else has changed it, which didn't even happen. He was the only one who touched the age rating since it was first updated on the first release of the game, which was months prior. Not only this, but he even tried to defend himself, saying that he was trying to fix the age rating. How if it's already 17 plus, you can't even edit the age rating. So why would there be a log of him editing the age rating? This is clear evidence of him once again lying to his fanbase, and it's blatantly obvious that he fucked up the age rating. He also had openly admitted to breaking his own server rules while enforcing them strictly on others, showing blatant double standards. However, more seriously, there are multiple screenshots of Bucket sexualizing the character Noel from the video game Deltarune, who is a minor, by making explicit comments despite being an adult himself. This is concerning given the Roblox games are primarily played by children. Now that we are done with the recap, let's move on to the new evidence surfaced by many users who viewed the last video. A few hours after the video was posted on the 3rd of January, it eventually spread into Bucket's own Discord server, and his response to it was absolutely ridiculous. Here's why. When Bucket finally noticed the situation, multiple people had asked him to watch the video, in which he responded multiple times with no, such as, "I'm good," and then proceeded to shift the blame onto the community by saying they are not welcome if they were upset by the video, which is absurd when there are multiple clear images of Bucket doing things or saying things that are wrong. He also admitted in public that he would ban people if they were in favor of the video, which just goes to show how he's trying to run away from the drama rather than responding to it, which is absolutely crazy. Some members reacted foolishly to the drama, which Bucket tried to use to reflect his disgusting actions onto the community, which is insane, as that was one user being disrespectful out of many of them in the server at the time, and there are so many screenshots of Bucket being disgusting on Discord. He had also asked his staff to silence people who were talking about the drama, which is absolutely disgusting, as people are entitled to say how they feel about Bucket and are not allowed to be silenced because they have seen absurd things about him. Even his own close friend was negative about Bucket and explained how Bucket needs to change, but the community shouldn't have been so hateful, which I agree with both of his statements. However, Bucket responded with, "Yeah, I'm good, bro," which is genuinely ridiculous when there's so much evidence showing how horrible he is, and yet he won't take accountability for any of it. Bucket has also tried to say that the evidence was faked, which is the worst response he could have said, as the screenshots are all in the Discord server, and now he looks even worse for trying to run away from problems he created. He also began banning so many people who spoke about the incident, which is diabolical and shows how disgusting he is, as he is proving his statement of not changing by banning people for speaking out against him, instead of saying he is wrong and taking accountability, which is what he should have done. As said earlier about the Noel situation, Bucket further proved that he has sexual intent with this minor character by responding real to a drawing of him rubbing his hands together in a plotting manner to a picture of Noelle immediately after saying the screenshots are faked of him saying disgusting things about Noelle, which is just funny at that point as he is just digging himself a deeper hole instead of taking accountability for this, and he's lucky people even tried to give him a second chance after disgusting allegations with real evidence to pick it up in his own Discord server. Bucket later made a shady response to the drama in his server, calling the video evidence fake, fabricated, out of context, and outside the server. This response is already stupid in itself, and here's why. First of all, the evidence is not fake or fabricated. This evidence can be found by searching for it in his own server, which completely debunks the forged or fabricated evidence claim. Secondly, the screenshots are not out of context. I specifically explained every single screenshot and provided the context behind them that was necessary. The claim about it not being in the server doesn't even matter as well because he still said what he said regardless where it was said. Not only this, but he refused to even watch the video, which completely removes all his points made in the announcement, and he doesn't even know what was said in the video, so he wouldn't even know it was fake or not regardless. He once again also tried to run away from his problems, saying the drama will not be spoken about anymore on his server, which is absolutely disgusting when it's drama specifically about him, and it just shows how ridiculous his reaction is to this video, especially as multiple people had admitted to seeing the screenshots in person who I don't even know or am not affiliated with. Moving on from his reaction to the drama, I received more evidence showing horrible treatment to staff, and multiple ex-staff members had all said they thanked me for making the previous video, which literally proves how ecstatic they are the Bucket is finally being brought to justice. First of all, Noxus had proved the statement of Bucket firing from a cult and that he has multiple red flags, but did not elaborate what these red flags are, which is insane to me. But not only this, there are multiple times where Noxus has messaged Bucket to receive no response at all, which is absurd as there are multiple cries for help in those DMs, taking a toll on Noxus's mental health and other mods at the time. Not only this, there's some accounts I've found from a person named Parbu who was the first person to be in the Undertale Dungeons community, and he has 5 years ago, still experiencing neglect from Bucket. You can watch the video here, but I will go over the main points that he made. In the video, he agrees with the previous video, addressing how it shines a light on a few problematic behaviors from Bucket. He then goes on to talk about the Noelle situation, in which he says Bucket keeps repeating the sexual jokes in front of minors very graphically, and he also explains how Bucket is an adult now and he can't do this anymore, and he should address these allegations. Parker also talks about Bucket's refusal, explaining how Bucket said he's not going to watch the video that was made about him, and he also calls it an awful idea. This is ridiculous as he is literally going against pedophilic allegations, which is absolutely absurd. Parker also talks about the chronic neglect of the staff team, explaining how it is a long-running issue where Bucket ignores his staff, fails to solve their problems, and never properly trains or manages the right people in his staff team. He explains how the staff issues are ignored despite him being active, and that Pablo himself had experienced this neglect when he was a staff member 5 years ago, quoting, "It's been 5 years since this issue started and it's still happening." Pablo also talks about the inconvenient senior staff and nepotism from Bucket, explaining how senior mods are unqualified due to being hired by favoritism and not competence, and that system is still used by Bucket after 5 years despite so many failures with the system. Pablo quoted, "Bucket still believes that hiring people just because you like them is a good idea." He also explains that all the issues you can find on the staff team go back to Bucket one way or another due to his negligence. Bucket also regularly humiliates, mocks, or punishes community members unfairly. According to Parbu, Bucket grabbed a bunch of DMs he thought were funny and just leaked those DMs on the server. We saw this in the last video where I spoke about how he responds to members with gifts instead of answering their questions, in which he publicly leaked them on his own server. Parvo makes the point that he quite literally invited them to the server just so everyone could make fun of them, which I find absolutely disgusting, as it is arguably true as well. Haru later talks about how Bucket has been making false promises and misses update times despite him saying for 5 years now, I'm going to release the update this day and then releasing it way later. While this is a minor issue, it shows lack of improvement or accountability due to minimal or no apologies at least. Parpu then speaks about how Bucket sabotaged the fan game Undertale Dungeons Alive, which we went over in the last video and at the beginning of this video. However, Paru does state how he believes Bucket does this because he's scared of competition and calls him petty for this. This is absolutely disgusting and is arguably true as well, according to the evidence where multiple fan games that have been competition to his own Undertale Dungeons game he has sabotaged. At the end of the video, Paru explains how if you have a bad experience with Bucket, make it public and don't let the topic die, which I absolutely agree on. Moving away from this, more evidence surfaced about the Noel situation, explaining how a fanfiction was made about his OC and the minor character Noel. It uncovers how the senior moderator, It's Very There, had banned the user who made the fanfiction of Noel and Bucket's OC with sexual intent, in which Bucket was in full support of this fanfiction, which is absolutely disgusting, and Bucket unbanned this user even though they made partial not safe for work content. I will debunk Bucket's response. First of all, Bucket states how his OC is 16 and not Bucket himself. However, not only are sexual interactions with minors in fanfiction illegal, Bucket is an adult, so he still has to take accountability for the OC, as he is actively allowing himself to have sexual interactions with minors, regardless if the OC is him or not. He also tried to state how the fanfiction was barely not safe for work, which has no relevance to anything, as it still has not safe for work content by nature, which makes it illegal content, which he is actively supporting. An adult involving themselves directly or indirectly in sexual content censored on a minor is still inappropriate, regardless anyway. Bucket also makes the quote that the fanfiction was distant from the server, so it doesn't matter. This is completely untrue, as it still reflected on the community, as people inside were involved. He also said that it's a joke, which doesn't matter, as it's still sexual content involving minors, and then he even finds the fanfiction funny, which is absolutely disgusting when he is an adult. Alongside this, there are more screenshots being surfaced of Bucket making more obscene sexual comments about Noel, which is absolutely disgusting, being that Bucket tried to call it fake when multiple people had seen the things he wrote down and sent into the public Discord server that he owns. Here I have a video clip of an ex-mod who was fired named Folan, who is a controversial figure in the backrooms. The audio is not in the video due to recording error, but you can see the DMs which are exchanged, which include Bucket being negligent and rude to Folan. However, Folan is not completely innocent, but that doesn't take away the fact that the owner, being the way he was to Folan, who was out of the staff team at the time, was disgusting. It also includes Bucket looking for a reaction from Fallen by inviting him back to the server just to clown on him and make fun of him, which is not acceptable. As of making this video, I contacted Bucket addressing the Discord server to take Bucket down, apologizing for some of their horrific comments made about him and disgusting memes. And instead of thanking me for apologizing, he didn't even read the apology and instead hit me with the same reply he has done 3 times in a row now when I'm just trying to reason with him with valid points. He always says, not rating that essay. This is just straight up disgusting, as I'm being nice to him, and he still has that disgusting attitude towards me for no valid reason. And he even banned my ult from that server when I hadn't even made any comments on that old account at all, except apologize to Bucket, which is extremely absurd to think about. Bucket also even began banning multiple people from the Backrooms VR escape, which is insane, as half of the people he had banned had done absolutely nothing except call him out for his disgusting actions. I have another voice call here from another ex-mod called Phonium, who shares his opinions on Bucket and the drama.
So I was a staff member under the the big man himself, Buckethead, for about a year, and I want to say a half, but I feel like it's a little bit less than that. Regardless, I've seen multiple different instances in which there's been problematic stuff rising. And one of those instances was with Noel, which was brought up in the last video. But the current new staff member, Mace or Omar, or whatever they have their name as right now, was so role playing as Noel in the server at one point and pushed Bucket to say a lot of the things he said. Um, she wrote a, or he, I don't know their pronouns, so I'm just gonna say they. They wrote a fanfic about Bucket and Noel, and Bucket had commissioned it. So I feel like that was kind of weird. Another instance was before I was a staff member with Yuna, the big pedophile drama. Bucket had neglected my messages regarding the proof that I had sent to him for months upon months, only then banning him after he had already become a staff member. And I think some of that might be due to the fact that Bucket neglects his DMs. I also think he could have saw it and ignored him due to the fact that Yuna was his friend at the time. So I feel like also a little bit weird there, but he's kind of neglectful of the staff. He didn't talk much to us, and I voiced multiple different problems to him. I had pinged him in staff chat. I'd pinged him in general. Someone would bring up an issue in the server, and I would relay that issue to Bucket, and he would either completely ignore me or say, "I'll fix it in a minute," and then never get to it. Probably just due to the fact that he didn't want to, or due to the fact that it came from a member, not a staff. So there's been multiple accounts of that. And one last thing, I feel like he's also been very neglectful of the server as a whole, not just the people in it, but the stuff going on inside of it, his games even, he neglects them. So I feel like he's a very neglectful person, and though I don't want any harm done to him, I feel like he can definitely change that for the better. And I feel like it's very weird that people are making such a huge deal out of something that really isn't that big with the whole death threats and everything going towards him right now. But I definitely feel like Bucket should try to change. Yeah, I feel like that's about all I can I can portray right now.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Bucket is still continuing to get away with these acts by pretending the situation isn't there, saying the evidence is fake when this is clearly not true, and silencing anyone who talks about the situation to try and make us forget about it. This is just disgusting when there's so much evidence of Bucket being disgusting, such as sabotaging fan games, lying to his fan base, being rude to his staff, flipping the blame on his own players, and multiple accounts from many people from his community outright saying the same things of him, being rude and negligent to them 5 years later, and he still refuses to change to this day.